Hello, this is Alan, welcoming you to the 2039th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper. Dateline, 25th of February 2016. The readers this week are Sonia, Jenny, Ros and myself, with Colin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, under their copyright. Our title music, which you may have heard before, is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Pree, Fernand Bouillon and Harry Breuer, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include It Was Chaos, MP's claims don't make sense, angry residents see red, and 3 sentenced for crash for cash scam. First of all, there is one item of interest, at least I think it's interesting. It's about the Calibre Audio Library. Now, if you like listening to audiobooks, here's a source that may be new to you. Calibre Audio Library has 8,500 fiction and non-fiction audiobooks in 60 different categories, available on MP3, on CD, USB memory sticks, and via streaming, where people can listen to their books on computers, tablets, and smartphones. Calibre members can now borrow 8 titles on those formats, up to a maximum of 10 books at a time. People using the streaming service can put as many books as they like onto their online wish list. And if members receive a selection of books from a category, they can now exclude authors they do not wish to receive. Calibre adds over 60 books a month, including the latest bestsellers and literary prize winners, so you can keep abreast of reading trends as well as indulging classic books. The most popular fiction category is detective and mystery stories. Such is the demand, Calibre has added an additional subcategory called Cozy Crime, Gentle Mysteries, with authors such as Simon Brett and Marjorie Allingham and MC Beaton. This is for readers who prefer an engaging listen, but without the associated violence and strong language that is often found in more modern crime fiction. For a one-off joining fee of £35, there is no annual subscription, a door can be opened to a lifetime of free books. Calibre also offers a free 12-week trial period where you will receive 1 book at a time to see if the service is suitable for your reading needs. For more information, contact their dedicated membership services team, who will answer queries and discuss membership options. Call Calibre on 01296 432 339 on weekdays between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. You will always get a person, never a confusing menu directing you to press various numbers. You can also email them at inquiries@calibre, calibre.org.uk, or visit the Calibre website at www.calibre.org.uk. Now, if you're experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She, as you probably know, is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, Sonia will read the first item of local news. Sonia.
Hospital chiefs, in charge of the borough's last remaining A&E department, are defending themselves over claims that they regularly turn away patients as the emergency unit buckles under pressure. It was reported over the weekend that staff at the A&E department at the North Middlesex University Hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, made a tannoy announcement on Friday night, asking people who were not suffering from a life-threatening condition to leave. A hospital spokesman admitted that the alert had been issued after 450 patients, some classed as blue light emergencies, arrived in the space of one shift. At very busy times, like Friday night, we are honest with patients about the waiting time they can expect, he said. If the waiting time changes, as it can if several ambulance emergencies arrive together and doctors must attend to those who are critically ill, we would inform those patients who are already waiting that they may, unfortunately, have to wait for longer. A mum who rushed to the hospital's A&E last month with her 9-year-old daughter after her speech suddenly became slurred and she became highly sensitive to light, had to wait for 2 hours before she was seen by the triage nurses. She told the Advertiser that a similar tannoy announcement had been made on the night of her visit. It was chaos, she said, of the scenes that greeted her in the A&E. It was so packed I had to stand for a while because every single seat was taken. It was so chaotic I feel sorry for the staff who worked there. In the wake of the closure of the A&E department at Chase Farm Hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, in 2013, Joan Ryan, the MP for Enfield North, warned that, based on projected population increase, North Middlesex would not be able to cope. She told the Advertiser, "Everyone who campaigned for Chase Farm warned time and time again, and it is no surprise that North Mid cannot cope with the additional pressures they are now facing. It is quite shocking the degree to which they can't cope. They are asking people to judge themselves if they have a life-threatening condition. If they knew whether it was, they wouldn't be there in the first place." Kieran McGregor, who led the fight against the closure of Chase Farm's A&E unit, alongside fellow campaigner Kate Wilkinson, pointed to a letter Miss Ryan wrote to the then Health Secretary, Patricia Hewitt, in 2007, spelling out this precise scenario. "We don't like to say we told you so, but the fact is we did," he said. "We would call on the Royal Free Hospital Trust to look closely at their plans before they start building, because it is patently clear it is not safe to have one A&E for this borough."
The Green Party has hit out at an MP's demands for City Hall to recall millions of pounds from Cycle Enfield in a last-ditch bid to put the brakes on the scheme. Last week, after Enfield Council announced it would be pressing ahead with the next stage of the cycle lanes plans in Green Lanes, David Burrows, the Conservative MP for Enfield Southgate, publicly called on the Mayor of London to stop the next tranche of funding to the local authority. City Hall is due to release £5.9 million to allow the council to carry out statutory consultation on the cycle proposals. However, Mr Burrows is adamant that the money should be held back for another 2 months to allow for further engagement with residents and businesses ahead of the formal consultation process. In a letter to Boris Johnson, the MP wrote, "I am formally requesting, on behalf of a clear majority of my constituents, that you do not at this stage approve the next tranche of £5.9 million capital funds so that further engagement can take place with residents and businesses. Given the circumstances, it is reasonable for such engagement to take place before expenditure on the statutory consultation phase. It will also enable a wider consideration of the schemes in conjunction with the progress of the Enfield Town scheme." Mr Burrows sent out 17,000 postcards, in the Palmers Green, Southgate, Winchmore Hill and Grange Park areas of his constituency last year. Of those, 2,828 replied and 1,973 said they were totally opposed to the scheme. The MP, who is close to the Save Our Green Lanes campaign group, led by prominent Palmers Green businessman and landlord Costas Georgiou, claims this proves the majority of residents are opposed to the scheme despite the council's official figures, which showed a slim majority of people who responded to their official consultation were broadly in favour of the scheme. The Enfield Green Party is unhappy at Mr Burrows's opposition to the cycle lane programme, which it argues will help the borough deal with issues including childhood obesity, chronic air pollution and increasingly choked roads. The party also argues that by making the roads safe enough for children to cycle to school, not only will there be less air pollution as a result of fewer cars on the road, but also it will make parents and children healthier and happier. Ronald Stewart, prospective Green Party candidate for the Enfield and Haringey constituency in the coming London Assembly elections, said, "The claims of David Burrows don't make sense. The 300,000 people of Enfield deserve this investment into safe cycling and should be able to walk down the high street without facing illegal levels of air pollution. All the evidence indicates that pedestrian-orientated retail planning brings economic benefits when people are happy to spend more time and more money with local businesses. Enfield Council should use this opportunity to be bold and show how much can be done to improve Enfield through this investment."
Neighbours say the noise, constant swearing and lights shining up from a football pitch at the bottom of their gardens have made their lives a misery. People in Lathkill Close, Bush Hill Park, tried to block Power League from building a pitch in Great Cambridge Road last year. But now they say their greatest fears have been confirmed and what used to be a peaceful area has been destroyed. Father of two, Mike Boskov, said his 8-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter struggle to go to sleep while games are being played at night. The 49-year-old said, "I bought this house to raise my family in, and I feel like there's been taken away from us. I would consider moving over this, but it's a nuisance. Football is not a quiet game. All we hear are excitable cries and the sound of men swearing on the pitch. We were absolutely appalled when this was proposed. We knew this was going to happen." Gary Graham moved into Lathkill Road 28 years ago and said it was once a lovely area, but he says the noise now drifts into his house and his son, who is studying to become an accountant, is unable to find a peaceful place to study. The 56-year-old added, "When adults play, all you can hear is the most deafening sound of them shouting and swearing. It's very frustrating and it's made our lives a misery. I've got double glazing and I can still hear it. I won't be able to use my garden at all in the summer, and I've nothing against Power League, but this is ridiculous." Neighbours approached Power League with their concerns and noise assessors visited. Mr Graham added, "They said they'd replace the whistles, but it still feels like they are riding roughshod over us." Monica Hart said the footballers use bad language and the lights are blurring. "When I open my doors, I can hear it. When I open my windows, I can hear it. I don't want to be forced out of my house. Why should I be? I fear I will have to lock myself in over the summer. The lights are blurring and they use very bad language. It's stressing." Officers at Enfield Council said they take the residents' concerns extremely seriously and have spoken to Power League's bosses about them. A spokesman said, "Power League have received planning permission for the use and we are working actively to ensure Power League comply with conditions and provide appropriate mitigation." Ward councillors have already arranged a meeting between themselves, officers and residents to discuss this matter, and further meetings are planned in the coming weeks. In addition to visiting residents' homes to see the issue firsthand, we have held discussions with Power League to find a way of reducing the disruption caused to local people. The Independent contacted Power League for a comment, but they did not receive a reply.
A trio of scammers have been handed suspended prison sentences after attempting a crash for cash scheme. Abdi Ali Musa, aged 30, of Garfield Road, Enfield, Suleika Khalif, aged 23, of Errol Street, Islington, and Nimitala Mohammed, aged 28, of Paul Street, Hackney, conspired to claim the Vauxhall Corsa they were in was involved in a collision in Hertford Road, Edmonton, on 23rd of August 2013. Musa was sentenced to 10 months imprisonment, 150 hours unpaid work, and fined £1,000, while Khalif received 6 months in prison, 75 hours unpaid work, and £500 in fines. Mohammed got 8 months jail, 50 hours unpaid work, and was fined £1,100. The jail sentences have been suspended for 2 years. Claims against the policy of the other driver were made by the trio, demanding £10,000 for personal injury and losses as a result of the accident. But the fraud was spotted after investigators realised that the other car involved in the crash had policies paid for by Ali Musa and Mohammed. Detective Constable Gary Kearley said, "Fraudulent crash for cash claims means higher premiums for law-abiding motorists, so they affect everybody in that way. Anyone thinking that a crash for cash scam is a quick and harmless way to make cash is sorely mistaken. And these 4 fraudsters will now have all got criminal convictions." All 3 were charged with conspiracy to commit fraud. Ali Musa and Khalif pleaded guilty in court, while Mohammed was found guilty following a trial at the Old Bailey in November last year. A 4th man, Abu Laka Elmi, aged 28, is being searched for by police in connection with the fraud. Elmi was summoned to appear at court on April the 21st to face a charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, but failed to appear. A warrant was subsequently issued for his arrest. His last known address was in South Street, Enfield, and police believe that he may be working as a taxi driver in North London, and that he may be using other false names. You can call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111 with any information about his whereabouts.
Wanted. 1 resident for a historic des res in Enfield. The Old Enfield Charitable Trust is trying to fill a rare vacancy at one of its almshouses. The Trust cares for 10 19th century homes in Hertford Road, Enfield Highway, and a chance has come up for an Enfield resident to move in. Trust Administrator Binja Amin said, "They have to be 60 plus and they have to be independent so they can live on their own. It's a 1-bedroom property with a kitchen, bathroom and toilet, with all the usual rules and regulations of a landlord and tenant." Historically, the tenants of the almshouses, which date back to the 1840s, had to be widows. Ms. Amin said, "Vacancies are fairly rare, and we would like to hear from anybody who is interested." Tenants pay £150 a week to live in the almshouses. Ms. Amin said, "They are quite small, but they suit elderly people on their own. Not many people know about the vacancy. It's beautifully kept, like a little cottage, and there are 5 lovely neighbours with a beautiful little garden. Residents are invited to a party at the Trust offices in Enfield Town. They are also treated to Christmas gifts from the Trust and receive cards on their birthdays. We have a good relationship with them, added Miss Amin. We do look after them and listen to their needs. However, she stressed that the Trust was not a care home and did not offer 24-hour care. Residents must be able to look after themselves. The oldest resident has just celebrated their 80th birthday, and the youngest is 60. Anyone interested in this should contact the Trust on 020 8367 8941.
A plumber from Enfield, convicted in the Hatton Garden jewel heist trial, has lodged an appeal. Hugh Doyle of Riverside Gardens was found guilty last month at Woolwich Crown Court of 1 count of laundering following the raid over the Easter weekend last year. A jury of 6 men and 6 women convicted him of allowing land near his workshop behind the old Wheatsheaf pub in Windmill Hill, Enfield, to be used on May the 19th, 2015, for a transfer of jewels stolen by the Hatton Garden gang. He was cleared after a 7-week trial of an alternative charge of conspiring with others to convert, conceal, or transferring criminal property. There is no suggestion that the 48-year-old was involved in the raid at the safe deposit vaults in central London. Co-defendant Carl Wood, 58, of Elderbeck Close, Cheshunt, is appealing against his convictions for conspiracy to burgle the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company and conspiracy to conceal jewellery, bullion and cash from the raid. A judge will consider their applications. If successful, the appeals will be heard by a panel of 3 judges at the Court of Appeal at the Royal Courts of Justice. William Lincoln, 60, from Bethnal Green, East London, who was convicted of conspiracy to burgle after last month's trial, has not submitted an appeal to date. The 3 men are due to be sentenced at Woolwich Crown Court next month. They will be joined by the heist ringleaders who admitted their roles in the £14 million raid. They include Enfield men Danny Jones, 58, of Park Avenue, Bushhill Park, and Terry Perkins, 67, of Heen Road, together with John Kenny Collins, 75, from Islington, North London, and Brian Reeder, 76, of Dartford, Kent.
A report has blamed a building firm for causing flooding in several gardens along a street, leaving residents feeling vindicated. People on Vernon Crescent in Cat Hill have seen their property covered in up to a foot of water, which they have always suspected was due to an L&Q development of the former Middlesex University campus nearby. Now a survey by home repairs company HomeServe blames L&Q squarely for the flooding after they uprooted hundreds of trees on the site that had previously picked up the water that is now in Vernon Crescent back gardens. The HomeServe report, seen by Enfield Independent, says the customer is having issues with laying water at the back of the property. Neighbours both sides and further down the street are affected by pooling water in their back gardens. Drains checked are cleared and not the cause of issues. Development works are going on over and back of the properties, and ground has been raised and soil replaced with asphalt and cement, with trees also removed from field areas. It is believed the issue is linked to building works with the removal of trees. That report also said that HomeServe cannot carry out repairs and it is not covered by their policy, and that further investigation is needed to confirm their findings. Vernon Crescent resident Kim Coleman said that she feels like her suspicions have been confirmed. She said, We said at the planning meeting that there would be problems, but no one listened. As far as I am concerned, this report shows L&Q are totally responsible without any shadow of a doubt. If these problems are not sorted out, we will face flooding every spring. We don't just want the water pumped out this winter, we want the flooding issue sorted permanently now. L&Q have been contacted for a comment.
Police are appealing for witnesses to a traffic collision after a 52-year-old man was left in a life-threatening condition. Police were called to reports of a collision at junction 25 of the M25 between a car and a lorry at about 10:25 last Monday evening. The man who was driving the car was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made. The driver of the lorry stopped at the scene and is helping police with their inquiries. Witnesses to the collision are asked to contact the Chadwell Heath Serious Collision Investigation Unit on 020-8597-4874 or call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. Road closures were in place in the immediate aftermath of the incident, but all lanes were reopened by 4:30 a.m. the following day.
A project run by an Enfield school has received a grant worth more than £40,000 from Children in Need. Wesley School on Hazelbury Road, which leads a group of 20 other schools in Edmonton in working with young people with psychological and behavioural difficulties, has been given £41,623 by the charity. The grant will be used to employ 3 qualified therapists who will visit schools across Edmonton and help around 180 pupils. René Florenzu, Partnership Manager at Edmonton Schools, said, "This grant will not only improve self-esteem and behaviour in children, it will also enable them to develop positive relationships with their peers." Kerry Luca, Regional Head of London and the South East for BBC Children in Need, said they were delighted to help out this scheme. He said, "To all our fundraisers who have made these grants possible, a very big thank you." The school's project becomes the 8th in Enfield to receive Children in Need money.
A man who sexually abused a child has been jailed for 5 years. Douglas Reeder, formerly of Ferndale Road, Enfield, denied sexual assault on a child and possession of an indecent image. The 63-year-old will also have to sign the sex offenders register for life. The offences occurred in Kent in 2014. Detective Constable Anne-Marie McAteer said, "The child involved and her family showed great bravery in coming forward and giving evidence."
Enfield boxer Frank Buglioni has decided to end his contract after 4 years with Frank Warren Promotions. Wise Guy Buglioni signed with Warren after turning professional at the end of 2011. Under him, the super middleweight won 18 of his 20 fights and was crowned Southern Area Champion and 2-time WBO European title winner. Buglioni won the WBA Intercontinental title last summer after beating Fernando Castanadi. His last fight saw 26-year-old lose his world title bout unanimously decision to Fedor Chunivov. The split between Buglioni and Warren was amicable, with the boxer having greater freedom and flexibility for the rest of his career.
Well, if you're still listening on tape, we have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over, and start side 2. If you're not listening on tape, do what you have to.